welcome back. This is Styx. We are here with another Lord's Mobile video. This time it's going to be about my range set. And it's not just about my range set. I'm going to go over range gear pieces that you should have. I'm going to go over the range heroes, range familiars, range researches, and castles. Pretty much I'm trying to encompass everything. I'm hoping I don't forget anything. I wrote it all down ahead of time this time, so let's go ahead and see how it goes. Alright, so this is my range set. It's not perfect. It's not all mythic. It's not all even gold. I have a couple of purple pieces, obviously. So what I'm telling you here is I'm going to try to explain every, decent piece of gear for the range set, but of course I'm not going to get it entirely perfect. Here's Espeon. She's bothering me, not letting me record. Anyway, so I know people will disagree with me. That's okay. I'm trying to teach those who don't know as much as the people who do. And I won't get everything entirely right, but I'm going to give it my best shot for you all. So if I come into this page, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to search the gears based on their type. So I'm going to look up range attack down here. Here we go, we've got range attack. So what I use for my set is the Skull Crusher. However, with that being said, you could use a Frostwind Greatsword, you could use, well, champ gear I'm just going to negate, that's obviously the best in slot every time. You can use the Nectar Orb, which gives a solid 35% at Mythic. You could use Decadent Sword, same thing. You could use the Worm Rod. Now, a lot of people will use that Worm Rod. Specifically, I like the Worm Rod, but I don't have the pieces for it. I lack the pieces for it because I go for other pieces on my range set rather than the Worm Rod. Granted, that is a very solid choice. I use the Skull Crusher because it uses a different piece I don't use. I don't really use Burning Scrolls, etc. So this is what all of my mutated brains go into, as you can see. And I like the Skull Crusher because the ranged attack is pretty solid on it, so 21%, and then the army attack is really what's good about this in my opinion. So that is what I use, not best in slot. I would say probably the Worm Rod or any of these really, but there are a lot of competing parts, so it's an easier item to go for. Granted, that being said, it is very difficult to get the correct mats for. Those mats take ages to get, but if you're looking for something that's one mat type, that's a good option, and it's not going to compete with other pieces that you're trying to go for. So let's go back into here. I don't know why I exited all the way out. So we're going to go ahead and look at the head now, and we're still in range attack. What I like to use, and what I'm pretty certain is best in slot, is the Wormbone Coronet. I have mine at Mythic. That's a great piece of gear. It is also a research piece of gear, so it's a win-win all across the board. It has army max HP. It's just a really solid headpiece. It's what I would definitely use if you have the availability to do so. Another great option is the Bumble Helm. It's good for like an 055, which people don't really use anymore. But for the blast, it's a solid range attack and a solid cavalry attack, even though this isn't a cavalry video. And it still has that army max HP for you, and that's really solid. Again, champion, we're going to negate that. The Ancient Hat, it looks like it's actually pretty solid range attack, but then it's lacking that HP and the other important stats that should be going along with a good range piece. And then as you get further down, it's kind of redundant to use any of those. So I would say focus on one of these two for your range set. My personal opinion, always going to be Wormbone Coronet. It's a great piece of gear. Now we're going to go ahead and head over to the chest piece. Now when we're looking at the chest piece, again, not talking about champion, Hardened Carapace. This is what I personally like a lot. This is why I don't have the headpiece is why I don't have the Wormbone Coronet. But the Hardened Carapace, again, it's a really solid piece, 35% each there. And I use mine for range. I don't use it for cavalry. I use something else. But you could also use the Hedonic Cuirass. I do not recommend this though if you're going for any type of Ambrosial Cup, because the Ambrosial Cup is going to be a lot better for you. It's going to be that's going to be your focus, and that the Hedonic Cuirass would just kind of be on the back burner. So I wouldn't recommend going for it, but if you have the money to do so or the mats to do so, by all means go for it. Anything past that I wouldn't really recommend. Deathly Mantle, it's good at first, but it's not going to be worth it in the long run, in my personal opinion. So let's go ahead and let's move on to the boots here. Now for the boots, what I personally like to use is the Dragon's Talon. It's a real solid piece of gear. Look at that range, 42% range, very useful. Army max HP, 21%, also very useful. Infantry, it's lacking a bit, not what I would use for my infantry. And then everything past that, I'm looking at right now, I wouldn't say use anything else, to be completely honest, unless you want to go for the champion boots. Most people choose one type of champion equipment to use, so that is a very viable option. 56% ranged attack and army attack is 14% max HP. Very good piece of gear there, but very difficult to level up, so I wouldn't go for it yet again. Now on to the offhand. For the offhand, there are the winter mitts there. Winter mitts kind of have their own background, but if you've stayed up to date with YouTube, then you would know with Worthy Prince, he has actually tested the winter mitts against the Codex, and in his testings he found the winter mitts were better for defending, which kind of makes sense, and the Eternal Codex is better for attacking. I personally use the Codex. I think most people do use the Codex, and that's probably the best in slot that you're going to go for. I wouldn't do the champions yet again. This Viral Switchblade, it's a good lower tier item if you happen to get it up, because it'll help your infantry and your range, and it's pretty easy to get. So it is a good option for if you're a lower player and you're trying to just get some stats and you don't have money to spend. That's what I would recommend for the lower tier player. The Eternal Codex is a hard piece of gear to upgrade, just like every other top tier, excluding champion gear sets. So that's what I would use. Now onto the accessories. The Blight Ring. Blight Rings are a great range piece. You can go full 3 Blight Rings if you want to. Ambrosial Cups are also excellent. However, they're very, 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 let me stress that, very difficult to get. So, on that note, you might want to go for 1 cup, get it to Mythic, and then maybe try for another one. I have 2 purple cups in my set. Probably not the best thing. The only reason I don't have a Blight Ring there replacing one is because I only have 1 Mythic Blight Ring. I will replace that later, but those are the 2 that you should use there. And the Worm Seal, also another great piece for range attack. And a lot of times you won't think about it because it's only a level 5 accessory, but it's just as good as the Blight Ring for the most part. It even has Army Max HP. Blight Ring has Army Max HP and it's more, but that Worm Seal, it's pretty easy to get. It's pretty easy to level up. And if you happen to be a Stone Hyper, there you go, Stone Production Rate. Great piece of gear there. I'm not going to say anything else. That stuff's all trash. So that's all of the gear that I would recommend for your set that you use. And once again, we'll go ahead and look at mine. This is my set right here. It's a pretty solid set. I don't even have the best gear by any means, but it's still, it does really well. Alright, next thing, let's take a quick trip into the land of jewels. Not too fun. I mean, it is when you get them. When you don't have them, it's not too fun. So ranged attack jewel, obviously that's what you're going to want to use primarily, and you're going to want to make sure that you are using the same color jewels throughout. So if you have all 8 purples and no golds, that's perfect. Now if you have a purple and 3 blue, no, a gold and 3 blues, that's not perfect. If you have a gold and 3 blues, you want to take that gold out and you want to break it apart and then use it as 4 purples instead. You'll actually gain much more percentage, because if you're looking at it from a percentage basis, that gold jewel is 20%, whereas each of those blues, the 3 blues combined, are giving you what, 6, so 18%. So then you go ahead and take out that gold jewel, make it 4 purple jewels, and you're actually going to be gaining more percentage than you would have just using the gold. So definitely make sure you're using your jewels correctly. Now let's go ahead and scroll up, because there are more jewels for this. So this worm jewel right here, this is range attack and range defense. The defense doesn't really matter, but the range attack is good. Now these jewels are a little bit different. In this case, sometimes it's better to just go ahead and have a higher jewel and a lower jewel somewhere else, because they don't work the same way as the other ones. The other ones, you gain 6%. This one, I believe, between the purple and the blue, it's like a 5 to 2% thing, so you would be better off having a purple rather than 2 blues. Make sense? Hopefully it does. The last jewel that I want to talk about for the range set, if you're trying to do a range blast set, would be the Grim Jewel. Grim Jewel is range max HP, as you see here, and some travel speed, so that's always good to have. It's not attack, it's not going to add to your attack stats, but it's definitely going to help your range blast out. So that is definitely the 3rd slot jewel that you should be using. Alright, now, not to be forgotten, one of the most important things that I always tend to forget is your talents. You want to make sure you have all of your talent pages set. So in my case, I normally do 2 attack types for 1 talent page. As you can see, I have range and cavalry here. Don't mind that. I have cav and inf here. So let's just go ahead and apply the range and cav one. And if you see, as you go down, you can see I've maxed out all of my range and cav here. I've maxed out all of my health, the other thing that you definitely want to max. Range, cav, etc. It just goes down the list. It's pretty easy. And then by the time you hit the bottom and you've maxed out that squad health, you're going to have some remainder. You can use it on whatever. I did defense here. It doesn't really matter what you do. I believe that's why, yeah, that's why I have this defense as well. So those talents, though, they're going to add 70% to your stats. It's a huge bump into your stats. If you forget that, then you might as well not be attacking, realistically. And I'm eating my own words here because I've done exactly that. I've attacked without my talents. But it is what it is. At this point, my skills are pretty good. So I'm going to give you a sneak peek real quick of just the percentage of range here. And it is 632%. So at 632% with this gear, that's pretty solid. And that's because you can see I have all of these gold jewels in here. Gold jewels will make a huge difference into your set. So obviously, if you can, put all gold jewels in that, but it should be obvious. Alright, now we're going to move on to the range heroes. So when we're talking about the range heroes, you want to have at least 5 heroes in your attack, and if you're doing a straight blast attacking someone, you're probably going to want to put all range heroes in if you're doing all range. So I'm just going to go through a few of them. Tracker here, probably one of the #1 range heroes that anyone has. Most people get it right away because it's great in Coliseum. Awesome hero to use right there. Now we're going to go ahead and look at Bombing Goblin. He has this army attack boost, and that's why I wanted to throw him in. He's actually one of the most important free-to-play heroes that's out there because of that army attack boost. He can help every single blast or attack that you do. So you want to make sure you have him gold as soon as you can, and you want to just focus on that first. He's very important. Now to continue, we have the Death Archer right here. She is a ranged attack, as you can see, another 30%, solid. We have the Snow Queen. Do I have her gold? I do not. So Snow Queen, wherever you are, did I pass her? Where? Oh, I do have gold Snow Queen. Here she is. So another 30%, and then I have the Black Crow chosen as the 5th one, and she offers range HP boost. There's not another attack one, at least not that I saw going through all the free-to-play heroes. So this would be my final slot one, unless you have any of the Army Wives. If you have any Army Wives, use them. They're awesome if you have them gold. And by Army Wives, I will explain that a little bit. So let's see. Lore Weaver, she is one of them. She's very solid to use. Not Death Archer, get out of here. Berserker is also very solid to use with the army attack, but she goes up higher, not what I have her at. And then there are more Stormfox, Songstress of the Sea. I believe those are all the Army Wives. So if you have any of them, go ahead and use them. They're better than the final one there, Black Crow. So that's always a good plan, but they are expensive, so you don't have to focus them. Just buy them passively over time if you're buying. Alright, now we are going to talk about our ranged familiars. Now, this is not very difficult. There's Trickstar. Pretty much. There's probably HP and defense ones that I didn't look into, but as far as the range attack one goes, it's right here. Trickstar, his second ability, range attack plus 10%, and he is a pack 3 familiar, so you're going to have to level him up and then max out his skill. As you can see, mine is maxed out. That's an extra 10%. It takes a long time just for 10%, but every percent matters when it comes to this game. Alright, now we are moving on to our range researches, so not that building. Go ahead here. Obviously there's a military tree, you're going to want to max that out. If you're a new player, that's how you get T4 anyway, so you're going to be doing that. As you can see, there's just range stuff, range offense right here. You're going to need it. Pretty redundant for me to say because everyone's going to go for T4 anyway. And now we have the Army Leadership tree, and in the Army Leadership tree, the reason I included it is because it has Army Offense 2, Army Health 2. Those are great researches to have. It's going to be another, what, 10, 15%? 10%. So another 10%, that's solid with every blast that you do, any hit you do. And then, of course, there's the Demoralize, Sabotage, Plague. Those are debuffs, and they're also extremely great to have, but extremely difficult to get, so I don't recommend focusing on it unless you're really dedicated and want to get that. It's very expensive, very time-consuming, very resource-intensive, all of the above. And then down here we have the Familiar Battle Tree. I know it's new, but if you look, one of the first few researches it has is the Ranged Attack right here. Range Attack 1, and it goes up pretty slowly, but it's another 10% to your range attack once you get it. Definitely a solid research to do. Now let's go ahead and move on to the Sigils, which also very expensive to do, but here you see another ranged attack, and it goes to 15%. So this one is probably a good focus if you're not trying to be a rally lead necessarily, and you're not going to go for Wonder, and you're trying to use your Sigils, or your Tomes, go ahead and do the Sigil tree. It's good, it's going to help your stats, and then later you can help out your rally leaders with the Sigils. So finally, there is the Wonder Battle tree, and in the Wonder Battle tree, yet again, here we see Ranged Offense Wonder 1, This is specifically for attacking wonders, but it's definitely good to have if you are a rally lead and that is what you're doing. And then you can see ranged offense 2 down here. Oh, did not mean to research that. So here we go, another 10%. So that's an extra 20% when attacking forts. Alright, the final thing that I want to go over is the castle skins. Yes, there are castle skins specifically that do ranged. However, this one does army max HP. Pretty much all the $100 ones, they're going to do something great, but it's going to be impossible to rank up unless you're spending a lot of money. So you don't really have to bother with them. Alright, here you can see the fairy toadstool. I call it the red rocket. Anyway, it has ranged max HP, so it's solid. It helps out. It's not the first one I would get because of that being HP rather than attack, but it's definitely one of the ranged castle skins for you to get. And let me say, all of the castle skins are passive effects. You don't have to be switching through castles to get the specific effects for that attack. A lot of people have that misconception. I've talked to a few people about it. Even top tier rally, well, maybe not top tier, but even very strong rally leads, some of them don't know that. But that is a passive effect. Here you can see the Pearl Coast has range attack and cavalry attack. So because it's 2 attack types, I'd say it's a really good one to max out if you have the money to do so. Reminder, these castle skins will probably be the last thing that you do because they're expensive and it's not going to offer a whole lot. So just pretty much get a castle skin you like. It's not a big deal. Not everyone has these castle skins anyway. Now we're on to the Forbidden Hall, the famous skin that is always in all of the Asian guilds, but nonetheless it's infantry attack, ranged attack, so same type of thing as last castle. Great to have, last type of thing that you want to go for. Now we have the Cloud Villa, again, range attack, range max HP, so if you're specifically looking for range, this is a great castle skin to go for as it has the attack and the HP. I don't necessarily like it too much, but then again I have the Shadow Keep, which I love, but if you like it, if you want the stats, whatever, it's a good one to go for. Oh yes, the little Barbie doll castle. So this one is range max HP. Again, something good. Some of the girls, ladies might like this. I don't know, maybe some guys will. Maybe they want to look pretty and unintimidating and then they go ahead and smack someone in the wonder. But this is another ranged castle skin if you would like to get it. Last castle skin to talk about is the Island Paradise, but it's ranged defense. I wouldn't bother with it. Honestly, if you get the skin, I hope it's because you like it. But anyway, I believe that all wraps up everything that I have to say for this ranged video. Hopefully I was able to help someone. Once again, here's my set if you want to look at it. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, comment, whatever. If you want to message me in game, feel free. I'm always open to answering questions, and I'll take any video suggestions as well. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.